your observations on India as a country. We know there's genetics involved, and there's also this excuse of people saying, oh, my grandfather had diabetes, so I'm going to have diabetes as well. And we all know that in some cases it's highly, highly genetic, but the balance, 95 to 96% of cases, it's purely lifestyle. So what are your observations on some of the things that India can do better when it comes to diabetes, any endocrine disease like thyroid? Your observations, doctor, and advice.
So Luke, you should be our brand ambassador for prevention of diabetes. Because India is that we are thin fat Indians.
Yeah.
We have more body fat composition. So Luke, you are trained in Queens. So in Queens and in Brooklyn, Professor Harold Leibovitz had a student called Marianne Banerjee. And what Marianne did in the early 90s was published a paper on thin fat Indians.
Mm-hmm.
She had Caucasians or whites from US in New York, in the Queens area. She had African Americans who were from the Queens area, and she had the migrant Asian Indians from the Queens area.
Mm-hmm.
And she studied their body composition analysis under the mentorship of Professor Harold Leibovitz, the world guru in diabetes. And what she observed, that the Caucasians or the African Americans, 27% of their body was fat. But when it came to the Asian Indians, 37%, and these were healthy adults.
Wow.
Between 20 and 40 were fat. So we genetically
Mm-hmm.
are thin fat Indians, because what happened, we used to have famine and feast.
Yeah.
And for famine, we stored our fat. So when we evolved, we had this thin fat Indian phenotype. So we have less muscle, and we were agrarian. So we were always active on our fields. We never had seats to chair. We used to sit on the ground. The thrones were only there for the kings and the queens.
Mm-hmm.
So we never had diseases. Why the diseases like diabetes have cropped up is because we have become very, very sedentary.
Yeah.
We have got intoxicated to a television screen or a gaming screen or a mobile phone, or we are addicted. So we have become sedentary. We are not building our muscle at all,
Mm-hmm.
and we are eating too much.
Yeah.
And that excess food of carbs and fat is not good enough. So we have sarcopenia. Sarcos is muscle, penia is less muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And to exact opposite of sarcopenia is Luke Coutinho. Okay, you should see him. And we are not. If you can be him, you can be diabetes free. You can be complication free, because diabetes stems from the fact that we are having less protein intake and too much of carbs and fats.
Mm-hmm.
And you're very right about the biological clock. You should have a large breakfast, moderate lunch, light dinner, or maybe whatever you want to do. You should do it through a circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
You need to sleep appropriately. The late owls are the ones who have challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that if you build your muscle, and muscle strengthening exercises are so important, and therefore you should help our International Diabetes Federation Southeast Asia, which I was a past chair of, that you need to tell people that they need to build their muscle.
True.
Because the more muscle Indians will build in their body, they will live longer, and they will have less diseases like type 2 diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. So it's important that in the Fit India movement, building muscle mass of Indians is very important. Because if you look at South Asia or East Asia, which has the largest pool of diabetes on planet Earth, it's all because our lean body mass has come down. And it's all linked to our protein intake. So having a little more proteins, whether you are vegetarian or non-vegetarian, doesn't matter.
Right.
But healthy, good sourced proteins compounded by proper physical activity to build muscle. So that is the mantra. And I think, Luke, you are the brand ambassador for that, because you really know and you can empower people how to build muscle correctly. Because if I say it as a doctor, people will look at me. But if you say that as a lifestyle guru, people will look at it and they will build muscle. So it's important that we all need to work together, because you see, we have 1.4 billion people in India. We are the second largest pool of diabetes in the world. We are the largest pool of type 1 diabetes in the world. And by 2045, we are headed to become the largest country in the world with diabetes. We want to be the diabetes care capital of the world.
Yeah.
We want to prevent people from getting diabetes. And for that, building muscle is very important. Getting the right messages of prevention is very important. Doing yoga, doing pranayama and surya namaskar, eating less, doing physical activity, eating the right food, having more proteins and less carbs. Just simple things can lead to remission. And now you asked me a question on remission. We are doing randomized controlled trials in remission. We are using artificial intelligence and using digital body twins, whole body digital twins, to create a digital twin of the human body using artificial intelligence with researchers from IIT Madras and from California. And we are trying to make a construct of precision medicine to see whether we can do remission. Now remission, everybody cannot go through remission. If you are a type 2 diabetic, you have 10 years of duration of disease and you are on medications. Under medical supervision, we are trying to get you reduce it by giving them a holistic approach.
Right.
And we are not just doing it in India, even in California, even in United States, we are trying to use a molecular fingerprinting using artificial intelligence. Because you see, artificial intelligence has its advantages. It gives us a map of what you are. But the solution ultimately is on the human body. Your mind has to make that decision. So I think, Luke, it's very important that, you need to transform India. And in that changing India, which is a digital and a skill developed India, building muscle in the Indian DNA is very important. And it's all seated in the mitochondria. So the muscle mitochondria is the key for good health in India. And I think, building muscle is so crucial. So, you need to empower Indians to get and maybe give them a 1-minute tip how to get good muscle in their body. Also remember, as you age beyond 40, when all the diseases start coming in India, you start losing muscle fibers and they get replaced by fat. And keeping the muscle fibers intact or having more muscle as you age will allow you to age gracefully or even reverse aging. Now, reversing aging is a good different topic of my research of longevity, but I think muscle and mitochondria inside the muscle is a seat for good health and is a seat for keeping you disease free, or at least if you have disease, to keep you more healthy. So that's very, very crucial to important.
We're going to get you back on longevity alone, Doctor. There's so much to learn from you. Doctor, I love your vision on, a diabetic-free India, and if there's anything we can ever do to support that, because prevention is what we want to really, really focus on. But Doctor, that also, brings me to an important point. There are a lot of people in our country right now doing all these fad diets and trying to lose weight so quickly for whatever reason, but they lose muscle mass along with that. And it's usually water that you lose first, then muscle mass. And a lot of people don't really reach down to burning fat or losing fat or reducing their fat percentage. And that's why the whole concept of thin fat Indians really, really makes sense. A lot of people come and say, hey, Luke, but I'm thin, but my weight is great, but I still have diabetes and other metabolic syndrome diseases. Doctor, you gave us great tips on how we can start looking at diabetes differently from a preventive model, as well as if we have diabetes.